Check this out. Good week to talk about Kendrick Lamar. It's all happening. King Kendrick Lamar was back in the news this week. His fifth studio album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, was nominated for 8 Grammy Awards. 8 Grammy Awards, including Rap Album of the Year and Album of the Year. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers was one of the biggest releases of 2022. It debuted in May at #1 on the Billboard charts, selling 295,000 first week. The album also crossed 1 billion streams in August, becoming the first rap album of the year to do so. 2 achievements that helped color the excitement surrounding King Kendrick's return from a 5-year hiatus. This week, Kendrick also released a video for Rich Spirit, one of the standout joints to me off Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. When K-Dot said, "Stop playing with me before I turn you to a song," I felt that. Now, longtime fans of the Breakdown on HipHopDX as well as TBD on this channel know that I am a super fan of Kendrick Lamar. One of the first GOAT pieces I ever did was on Kendrick Lamar, and that was back in 2016, back before it was popular to put him in greatest of all times conversations. Even videos on this channel, Good Kid, Mad Classic and Still Like an Artist, are some of my most watched. If you haven't seen those 2 videos, punch yourself in the face. With that being said, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers hit me in a completely different way than previous Kendrick Lamar albums. It's dense, it's layered, it revels in deep and arguably polarizing topics like grief and therapy and abuse and spirituality. There are 3 different literary devices playing throughout. There are reoccurring tap dancers representing people's tendency to tap dance around difficult conversations. There are references to spiritual leader Eckhart Tolle, who wrote the book The Power of Now, which encourages readers to live in the present moment and avoid getting caught up in anxiety about the past and the future. Eckhart actually appears on the album multiple times, dropping nuggets of wisdom throughout the track list. Kodak Black makes reoccurring appearances throughout the album as well. Rich Interlude is essentially a solo Kodak Black spoken word break. He's also on Silent Hill, which is another favorite. Given their perceived opposing public reputations, in a sense, Kendrick and Kodak feel like Chuck D and Flavor Flav. That's a compliment. The album is also set up as a double disc. Mr. Morale is presented as one album and the Big Steppers is presented as another. But since those 3 literary devices show up on both discs, while the sonics remain similar, it resonates like one project. Either way, there's a lot going on this album, and listening to it again 6 months after its initial release, I'm still conflicted on it, which is something I've yet to experience with a Kendrick Lamar album. Now, one of the most powerful joints on the album is Mama I Sober. It's a visceral exploration of Black trauma at a macro level, using his family from a micro perspective. Kendrick tells a story about how his mother would consistently ask him if he was abused by his cousin as a child when he was growing up. Kendrick said no, that never happened. But later it's revealed that the reason she was asking him so consistently that question is because his mom was actually abused at a young age. Then he shifts into a macro perspective, talking about the makeup of modern rappers. This is heavy, check this out. He says, "I know the secrets every other rapper abused. I see them daily burying their pain in chains and tattoos. So listen close before you start to pass judgment on how we move. Learn how he coped whenever his uncle had to walk him home from school." I mean, Jesus, talk about a poignant look into the weightiest of weighty topics. It's gripping, spilling emotion, capturing the saddest of sad realities. By every measure, this is an incredible, incredible track. But do I ever listen to it? Do I ever reach for that song? Nope. We Cry Together was one of the most talked about songs from Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Kendrick Lamar and Taylor Page team up to put together an all-time captivating performance. It's a relationship song over a haunting beat from Alchemist, but the 2 artists are literally arguing to the point where at any moment, it feels like it could spill into domestic violence territory. There are so many FUs and Bs flying around that you think you were at the wrong cousin's house when the spades game gets way out of hand. I mean, sincerely, We Cry Together is a mesmerizing song, You could feel it in your bones. It's like that Eminem song, Kim, but harder, if that's even possible. The way Kendrick and Taylor Page capture the emotion of that moment is unlike anything I've ever experienced through a track. It's a breathtaking performance. But do I listen to this? Do I reach to put this song on? Have I ever been anywhere where someone said, yo, why don't you put on that joint where Kendrick's arguing with his girl? Nope. Absolutely not, and never happened. You can make a strong argument that Auntie Diaries is a pioneering track in hip hop. Kendrick tells an intimate tale about his transgendered aunt and his transgendered cousin and his journey to understanding what that means. The song was hyper controversial. Some people loved it and felt like it was highlighting trans acceptance. Some thought as a trans acceptance song, it was clumsy and flat. Now, I find Auntie Diaries ambitious and speaking of conversations that are taking place in state houses and courtrooms and dinner tables all across America. So in that sense, to me, the concept holds up. It's also timely, personal, and highlights his own contradictions with using the F word to him not allowing non-Black people to use the N word in his presence. So at least he attempts to turn the lens onto himself. Now, do I ever reach to play this song? Never. For Mike to plug, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers as a listen reminds me of the movie Zoolander, one of my all-time favorites. It was Ben Stiller's 2001 comedy about a dotardy male model named Derek Zoolander, whose dim-wittedness puts him at the center of a plot to exploit child labor in Malaysia. There's a scene that takes place at the VH1 Fashion Awards where Zoolander and his rival Hansel are up for Male Model of the Year. During his montage, Hansel is asked who he considers to be a hero. Hansel says Sting. Sting would be another person who's a hero. The music he's created over the years, I don't really listen to it, but the fact that he's making it, I respect that. The music he's made, I don't really listen to it, but the fact he's making it, I respect that. Now, that's ultimately how I feel about Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. For every 2 songs I love, there's one that I skip. I love N95's raucous energy and supreme quotability. I love Mr. Morale, the title track. I love its ferocity and wild rhyme schemes. Incredible. Then there's Rich Interlude. Do I particularly enjoy this spoken word poem from Kodak Black? It's been 6 months now. I skip it every time. Purple Hearts featuring Summer Walker and Ghostface Killah from the Wu-Tang Clan is easily one of the purest hip-hop mashup moments of 2022. Father Time and its discussion on fatherhood and manhood had me reflecting on that basketball game with my dad when I was 9 years old and ended up in tears. Kendrick nailed it on that one. Die Hard and Count Me Out are both enthralling to me, and Die Hard is easily in my top 7 all-time Kendrick songs now. It's great. For every 4 songs I love, there's 2 like Worldwide Steppers and Crown, which I never go back to. Crown is definitely the better of the 2, but I like my spoken word on Poetry Night. I mean, this is uncharted territory for me as a Kendrick Lamar fan. Kendrick is easily top 5 album maker in rap history, and he always does a great job, an impressive job of merging the conceptual with the utility. Broad concept albums with high replay value and standalone songs. Good Kid, Mad City has that. To Pimp a Butterfly has that. Damn has that. He's great at this. But from a utility standpoint, from a do I want to listen to these songs perspective, to me, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers feels too ambitious. Again, he's got 3 different literary devices running, tap dancers and Eckhart Tolle and a reoccurring Kodak Black. He's talking about grief and trauma and a lot of very unfun topics and emotions that are executed in captivating fashion. There are 18 songs on this release and 6 of them, a third, are at best dazzling one-time listens. The point is this, Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is the rare example of an album that's almost too good, capturing too many emotions too viscerally, too often to the point where it's too hard to listen to. We Cry Together felt like I was really there and really didn't want to be. Mama I Sober, that reality is too dark to foray into too many times. Auntie Diaries, I don't listen to it, but the fact that he made it, I respect that. Kendrick was nominated for 8 Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year for this project, and it's absolutely deserved. In every facet, this is a pioneering, ambitious work of art that's built to be dissected and celebrated. It will go down in history as one of the greatest bodies of work of this era. But how dope is any album if you only want to listen to 2/3 of it? I don't have the answer to these questions.
Static selector.
Another Saturday, another TBD. Thank you guys for rocking with me each week. I really appreciate it. This is a piece that was long overdue. I actually wanted to do this in June when the album dropped. My plan was to return to doing breakdowns by breaking down this album. I listened to it for those first couple of weeks and there was just so much going on. I couldn't even put my thoughts really around it, so I decided to sit with it. I decided to sit with it until I saw him live in LA, but I ended up not being in Los Angeles at that time because my mom's health was going downhill. So I ended up missing the tour. So that put this piece on hiatus again. And then this week I saw the Grammy nominations announcement. I saw the Rich Spirit video, which is fantastic, by the way. And I decided, hey, time to put something on this review. And the funny thing is that over this 6 months, my opinion still is the same. I'm still skipping the same 6 songs. That's 2/3 of the album, and replay value is something big for me. I mean, it's to the point where I created a separate playlist of the tracks that I love and just completely excluded the ones that I kept skipping because they kept getting in the way anytime I was listening to this around a group of people or in the car or if I was smoking trees or trying to work out in the gym or cleaning the house. But at the same time, I can't ignore how fantastic of a creation this is artistically. So I'm not used to having these two things juxtaposed that often, though there are other albums that kind of hit me the same way. Lupe Fiasco's Drogas Wave is one of those for me. I mean, there's some moments on that album that are too heavy for me to even, I just never listen to. Nas's Untitled is another album like that. So I'm not saying because I hit these skips a lot, this album is necessarily bad, but this doesn't necessarily happen to me that often, which raises the question. How good is any song or how good is any album if you personally don't want to listen to it? Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section. That's where my thoughts are this week on this album. So that's where I'm at with it this week. As always, thank you, big thank you to all the analysts who donated to the Linktree, helping to forward this mission each week. You guys are priceless. I am thankful. Let me know what you guys think about the Grammy announcements. Who do you think is going to win Album of the Year? Does Kendrick Lamar actually have a chance? This is a category right there that almost never goes to a rapper. So we'll see what happens. My name is Justin Hunte. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow @TheCompanyMan on everything. And as always, it's all happening.